Hello everyone beautiful who's watching, which I know is you. As you can see, I recently did my laundry, but we're going to go ahead and cover that one up because it's part 2 of daily number 532, where we learn to be a better gamer and we crack our necks. Let me see if this gets picked up in the mic. Journey with me. Oh, that was deeply satisfying. I really enjoyed that. Did that. Was it good for you? Hold on, let's do part 2. The left way. Oh, God. Oh. The chat is like, he killed himself. Oh my God, that's great. Oh man, good neck, great neck. We're ready to do StarCraft. This is what I would describe primarily as an investigatory / joy daily. Clearly. Where we're watching the inimitable and lovely follow Grubby, just experimenting around with some Sky Toss action. As we saw in the first game against Zerg, certainly there are some strengths. We're getting more expansions up as Protoss. We have a little bit more flimsiness with a lot of the fact that the Oracle without energy is a really expensive paperweight. It cannot shoot up. If our opponent has any amount of anti-air, then we may die. And yet still it's sweet. Let's see how Grubby plays a Protoss versus Protoss. This is, I would describe as a tough matchup to go Aaron, theoretically. But when I watched Grubby do this, I actually giggled with joy. So let's go ahead and sip at our wonderful coffee. And then do some analysis. Little analysis, so we can get a brief sense of what we think be going on. And of course, ooh, Alistair, ooh, who is no doubt my favorite Orca whale. Good luck, have fun, Alistair. Grubby says, good luck, have fun, Alistair. So, I think that this is going to be an increasingly viable option. Really aggressive, swift, early expands. I will note right off the bat, still the defining factor in Protoss vs. Protoss in Heart of the Swarm. I don't care if you're thinking about, the Mothership Core, the Oracle, the Tempest, any of the new units, the Free Dark Shrine. Blink is still happens so early, between 7 minutes and 9 minutes are where the big Stalker attack timings are. The most important question in my eyes is still, how does the ridge look right along here, the ridge to your main? Fortunately, there's no way for Blink Stalkers to pop up along here, but for instance, if you're playing on a map like Cloud Kingdom, early expands suddenly just... Huh? My body's messing up. I'm giving it commands to do noises with my tongue, and instead I burp. Early expanding on a map like Cloud Kingdom, if your opponent goes Blink, then you're down in the toilet. Metaphorically. But on this map, I think this can work out quite well, given that we really only need to have a strong defense of this particular ridge. So let's go ahead and see how Grubby does it. I'm worried now about early robo attacks, because Warp Prism can be quite strong. I don't mind placing a forge here, but I probably don't want to do too much gateway stuff at the front. I might, just because I can block off my opponent from getting in, and then just be willing to sacrifice that daily. Sacrifice that gateway. This is what happens when you're reading chat while you're talking. So we're seeing, ooh, Alistair, ooh, going for a very standard gateway core opening. Grubby doing something that might look a little odd, but basically what he doesn't want is for this fellow to be stealing the gas, I would imagine. I would be shocked if he actually put dudes in the gas, but this is kind of a fakie from Grubby. This is just, I think, very obviously not what Grubby actually wants to be doing. He's going for it. He was going for it, but I think more so he's just trying to freak the opponent out. Now, I'm semi-torn on how I feel like these openings should go exact timing-wise, because again, most of the reason specific early defenses work or don't work is really, really thin timings. So I don't actually think that Forge, Double Gas, Stupidly Late Gateway, Derpa Late Cybernetics Core is an ideal way to go air. But again, Grubby is just having some fun, as I might note. So, I will again emphasize, we don't know if this is really good, or this is absolutely emergency stupid, but I do want to note that there are strategies that work very nicely with oddly placed nexuses. In particular, there's a Dark Templar opening on this map that you can do where you take and expand here as you go Dark Templar. Because by expanding here, if you have your main here, you have a very easily defendable ridge for your main base, and if he opts to go up here, you have really strong potentials to do counterattacks. It only really works if you have excellent mobile blink control, but this to me strikes me very much so as a, oh god, I didn't know I'd quite have that much money. So Grubby's going for the double Stargate, and I kind of feel like he would have been safe going for an early expand. Because, you know, he still would have had to do this sort of stuff. Oh, is this game not awesome? This is like Fun Day Monday level quality. This game is the man. Now, fortunately, oracles require so few minerals to build, just 150 minerals, 150 gas, that I think that it's very possible to get away with some extra cannonage. Comically enough, Grubby's expansion gets spotted, which kind of makes me just like facepalm, because I'm like, oh, dude, man, come on, man. Arg, you found it. My only surprise this game, excellent. Grubby, I totally believe you. And Grubby returns to the double Phoenix production. Now, one thing that I'll briefly note, Phoenixes take, with Chrono Boost, half as long to build as Oracles. So it's actually a little easier to build double Oracle than it is to build the double Phoenixes, because they just pop out so fast. But still, with this sort of cannon-heavy opening, and with the Oracles just do damage so stupidly freaking fast. 15 damage a shot. Now, you'll note that Stalkers die really dang fast. And these units are extremely easy to micro. So I genuinely believe that Grubby could have had the potential to hold off this Nexus. Now, this is where I'm going to stop. Everything I've done up to this point, I've been trying to be very timing conscious and talk about things like, oh, it could have done this, done that a little bit faster. I mean, like, for instance, stopping at this 9-minute mark and going, okay, we're already dead to most blink plays, so we probably shouldn't have gone for this Nexus and these Stargates in this order. Maybe going for cannons and then for the Oracles straight away could have been a possibility. I probably feel like going expand and then Oracles makes a little bit more sense. But, at this point in time, I'm going to stop thinking about any sort of openings and just start to note what happens the instant we have Oracles up. Now, I have done a lot of Phoenix analysis, I've done a lot of Phoenix gameplay. When you have Phoenixes... Oh, Alistair, you are so funny. With Phoenixes, you have a very nice time pinning in a player who's going for too many attacks. You can just easily sweep in, lift probes, and do damage this way. And now, suddenly, it's a lot more threatening. Again, the Oracles die really, really fast, and once they're out of energy, they're kind of like big old paperweights. But the primary reason that we would make air units is to force our opponent to make more ground units with gas. So you can't get away with doing a lot of tech if you're having to build a lot of Stalkers, and this is actually, I think, a lot nicer of a harassment than Phoenix. However, if our opponent went for air, we would just be totally dead in the water. If we get caught off guard, we're losing a lot more money, but because it's harder to swarm, I think there's nothing wrong with just abdicating any responsibility for your actions and just going straight up air. Frickin' build the air, dude. Frickin' yeah, man. God, I love Sky Toss. Oh, now I will note, you can always do the mind game answer. you can always go mass Phoenixes if you see him going mass Oracle, and he thinks that you're building the Phoenixes so that you can shoot down his Oracles, because Oracles don't have an anti-air attack. But you don't do that. When he sweeps into your base, you use your Phoenixes to lift up your probes, and then he can't shoot any of them for like 15 seconds. Mind games, man. Ugh, all the mind games. Oh, that's good. One thing to note, Templar are stupid good against Oracles. Because you just go for the very, very easy peasy double feedback, and then you just go Archon. So, interestingly, some of the best answers to Phoenix play is to go Blink with a limited amount of Stalkers, and then go Forge for upgrades while teching up to High Templar. And that's even more effective, because Phoenixes are pretty light on the early gas investment, but the Oracles, as we're seeing, if your opponent is really committing to air, you'll shut down all the things. Now, soon enough, each of these warp gates will turn into an expansion for The Legend of Zelda. Get it? Good. So here's the Blink play that I was mentioning earlier that does have this one issue with this one ridge. However, I do think that if you did something like built all your structures back here intentionally, and then did the photon overcharge on the main nexus like this, you'd be in excellent shape. And a few Void Rays are easily going to shut down a limited amount of Stalkers, but against a Sky Toss, I wouldn't be aggressive, I'd just be defensive, man. Easy peasy. So I've been trying to wonder, what is the optimal way to answer this sort of play? I really think that Templar and feedback are stupid good. I mean, you don't need, or, I mean, the very simple, just build some extra Stalkers. But see, Time Warp works well with Time Warp. And we're starting to see that in the Units Lost tab, Grubby's really just owning himself. Time Warp. Time Warp. Getting in the Time Warp. But, one thing that we noted from the last segment to this is how excellent it is for delaying our opponent. So, expanding works really, really nicely. These are much heavier on the gas, freeing minerals up, blurbity blobbity blah. You see that photon cannons work excellent as a delayer for all the things. In the meantime, it looks like Grubby's just building a lot of gateways. I don't actually think he wants to do that by any measure, by any stretch of the imagination. Any stretch of the imagination. See how I told you that this would be largely an appreciation daily? Yeah. Yes. So I'm thinking about the best way to transition out of this. And I think that if you're opening double Stargate... Okay, so let's think about this for a moment. If you're opening double Stargate, what does that force our opponent to do? Well, certainly he's going to have to build a good chunk of Blink Stalkers early on. Let's assume he's doing that. Let's ignore the air circumstance. So if he is building a lot of Stalkers, I think that if we just... So here's what I'm thinking. I want to get carriers up pretty quick, right? That seems good. I would say that I'm maybe half worried about a Blink Stalker counterattack. But in truth, if he is trying to expand at all, like even if he's two basing, I'm just going to pin him down with my Oracles, and then I'm not really going to worry that much about it. But if he's one basing it, then I'm not even going to be thinking about late game. I'm just going to be thinking about dumbass cannons. And just staying home for defense. So I think that going for a good amount of Void Rays while taking and cannoning a third and transitioning into Void Rays then, I think that seems pretty solid, because the Void Rays are mobile enough that if he started swinging at you with some Blink Stalkers, for one, you'd see it in time, and for two, you'd have Void Rays and cannons there to defend. So I like that quite a bit. And then you have the Mothership Core for the Photon Overcharge, if you ever need. And I think last but not least, following that up, carriers. Carriers, right? Carriers. I think that's probably going to be the optimal play. Do we want to go ground at all? I can't really imagine doing it with one exception, going for a lot of speed zealots. That makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because all the things that are good against oracles, which would be Templar and Stalker, are quite vulnerable to speed zealots. But I'd prefer to use all those minerals to expand. I mean, we're already dumping all our gas into the Stargate. And maybe we could go one Stargate Oracle, and then we could transition into Gateway. But who the fuck wants to go one Stargate Oracle? Who wants to be modest with the Oracle? Does anyone want to be modest with an Oracle? No, 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 I'm only going to build 3, and when I'm out of energy, I'll just say goodnight, and I'll come back tomorrow when they're fully charged. I'm going to build another Stargate and get more Oracles, thank you very much. Cool. So I think Alistar is doing what most people are doing, which is stumbling their way through the game and trying to figure out how to deal with all the new stuff. But I think that even though it's a little bit excessive on the cannons, the idea is still pretty well suited there. Upgrades, look at that, 3-2 incoming, just +1 Protoss armor. Grubby expanding, Grubby, yeah, going for the Zealot legs, I guess, makes the most sense if you wanted to go ground, but I see no reason to not to just keep massing up the air units and relying on our oracles. Everybody loves oracles. Yeah, again, Revelation works nicely with the oracles, as Grubby is demonstrated. I mean, look at the Grubby camp. Oh, units. And the time bomb. Follow along with the time bomb. Oh, yes. I actually didn't know that the vision range on Revelation was so small. It used to be, like, gigantic. It was like you had a siege observer attached to each building in perma-siege mode. But yeah, see, I like this, like, mass expand, go for the carriers, and it would be correct for a ground player to take the nearest expansions, for air players to take farther away expansions, because air players can exploit mobility. Herbs die first. And we can always retreat in time. So this is where I guess I'm marginally torn on this whole zealot business. I still feel like I would have liked to go for Dem Mass Airs, because now we can elect to charge up when we so desire. Time bomb makes it hard to run away, and we're just target firing Archons left and right. And where are the oracles? Oh, there they are. I found them. Grubby. Grubby. You know, I was talking to Forrest Gump the other day, and I was like, who's your favorite player? And he was like, Grubby. Remember how he said Jenny? Oh, that was so sweet. Alright, sweet. I don't know if anyone watches great films. And there, look, nice, carriers, coming on in. And what's so paradoxical about the anti-air response from any player, the mass stalker and or Archon, is that it's very difficult to build this and to transition at the same time. So of course mass carrier and I guess zealots, but part of the reason why I don't mind seeing zealots this late in the game, because, you know, if your mineral income is like stupid high, you know, there's no reason to like take expansions 7 and 8. Probably is better to just throw out some extra gateways and then, if time permits, to then flood with some zealots. But I'm starting to see a player who has to de-emphasize Colossus and re-emphasize building all the anti-airs. Now, I don't know if this is actually good or not, but at this point, I've just decided that it's sweet. Oracles are so good. Part of me has a sensation that they'll be like, all right, we're gonna slow the oracles down. We're gonna drop their damage output, but part of me has faith. Part of me has faith that my children and my children's children will say things like, "You're playing Protoss. Why are you researching Warp Gate? Just save that 50 gas for another Oracle. That's a third of an Oracle." I love these future children of mine. So yeah. So I like HotS. I like HotS quite a lot. Sean Plots. Now this is an ever correct move in the late game, especially if you are a harass-focused player. Having some sort of mobility addition is excellent. Counterattack. A mobility-based play. Yes. And, yeah, I suppose we could add on more Tempest, but I don't actually think it's that necessary. I guess you do want them to pick off the Archons, because that could be a little bit of a problem, but part of me just wants to just go ahead and build more carriers. Because I haven't gotten to do that in a long time. But I want to show... this is the moment that made me so happy. Oracles. Oh yeah. You were worried about the damage, but yeah, are you watching the same game that I'm watching? Do you see? Are you observing? Now, as we see Alistair, the Oracle Whale, is giving some frowny oohs. Ooh, ooh. Alright, let's just take a moment. Let's just take a moment to watch that. He's running, he's trying to run away. You know what's faster than a Stalker? An Oracle. Oh, yep. Uh-huh, yes. That's correct. Oh my god, that's so pretty. Look at how slow they're moving. They don't have any purpose in life. Just get out of the green. No. Ah. Rad. The game doesn't last much longer than that because we're starting to see the impact that Time Warp can have in the ultra late game. Yes. And as it turns out, Air Toss is really good against Nexus Stalker, the brutal composition of the future. I love Grubby. Grubby. Alistair is actually awesome. Let's make peace. Grubby just shows a happy face and continues to rally units in. I get you, Grubby. I'm right there with you, man. Kill them all. Death to the Orca Whale, Alistair. Good game, well played, Grubby. Now, part of me wants to do at least a little bit of analysis, but I think I did plenty of that at the start. I think I nailed it at the start. I'm going to go to a brief break, and when we come back, what I'm thrilled that we're going to get the chance to see is a really simple tweak on a standard Protoss vs. Terran opening that will get us in good shape for the mid-game. And in the break, we'll also hope that this overhead plane passes. I'll be back in 3 minutes with part 3. Yeah.